Hi everyone, it's MsLambLambs. Today I wanted to do just a little quick build here where I wanted to do a small home. I didn't want to really restrict myself to like a tiny home, so I did the tier 3 small home here. That way I could have enough room to kind of have some living space, a little bit of an outdoor area as well, and a little bit of foliage around the lot without having to be just one teeny tiny building in a gigantic lot. So right there I did skip a little bit because it took me forever to decide how I wanted to have an entrance onto the patio, and frankly I actually ended up getting rid of that little gate. I really wanted the gate to work, but it just didn't end up doing it for me. So we got rid of that, but I ended up really kind of enjoying just having a little bit of an open area to get into the house, and in fact the little dining area as well. Because it's such a small house, I ended up having a dining area outside. I'm not very good with roofing in general. You'll see me kind of struggling a little bit here. The Sims 4 roofing just really it kind of just like blows my mind, and I'm never really sure what exactly I want to do. I really do miss the days of Sims 3 auto roofs. They didn't look very good, but I mean, at least I didn't have to think about it. But I wanted to make sure to have a little bit of coverage in that kind of back corner area, because that's where I really wanted to have a little dining chair and table area there. Something really easy to access from the kitchen. Up here I have a little seating area planned, and this is where originally I was thinking I would just do the get together pack. But honestly, as soon as I decided, I really want this little living space up here, a little couch and whatnot, you'll see in a little bit here. I knew that I was going to have to use the ladders, and frankly, I just really liked the Eco Lifestyle ladder more than the base game ladder. I think it has a little bit more personality. So once I figured out the dimensions there, I sectioned off this little spot through the little ladder there, made sure that it made sense for the sim to be able to leave, and then here's where I made a decision. Even now that it's over and I've finished the build, I'm not sure if I really like the flooring. Here's where I actually get rid of that little gate, RIP gate. But I picked this cherry flooring because I really love it, but I never find a good reason to use it. But it's just so hard for me personally to match it to things. And the reason why I'm not super in love with it at the end is because I went with this red exterior. I did cut out right there a little bit of me playing around with other exterior colors, but honestly this red was the one that kind of just went with that flooring the best, in my opinion, with the packs I was trying to use. So it is what it is. In fact, it's actually, I'm pretty sure it's a cats and dogs one too. So if you do download this off the gallery and you don't have the cats and dogs pack, that's the only thing that's going to be missing, as long as you have Get Together and Eco Lifestyle. I'm really sad, actually. I ended up changing a couple of these window configurations in the end to be a little bit more usable with some of the items. I do end up turning BB Move objects on eventually. It's just to start. I was trying really hard not to have to need it, because it's really hard for me when I'm play testing to figure out, exactly what I'm doing wrong with figuring things out, because I get a little too happy to use the BB Move objects. Here I changed the ladder to be black because the doors and windows are all black in the house, and I knew I was going to have a lighter color of cabinetry and whatnot in the kitchen, so I wanted to make sure to still tie in the black to that ladder. I also had trouble here picking what I wanted on the walls. Again, between the pack restriction and just trying to find cohesive colors, I just really kind of struggled. I think it turned out okay in the end. I do go with something pretty basic. I do an eco lifestyle, this wall here, and then I also just go with a dark gray plaster, and I just kind of throw that all over the place. It does look a little dark, but I mean, in the end, I put enough light that, or lights, I should say, that hopefully it kind of balances out. I do also go for a darker kind of theme in the bedroom. I think you saw right there. I was going to try for a more red approach, but just between the exterior and then the flooring, I really didn't want that to be like the only personality trait that this build had. So see right here, this is what I'm talking about. This is where I change the windows, and something that I would typically struggle with quite a bit if I did just start with the BB Move objects, because I really struggle to make sure that everything is actually playable. I really wanted to make sure it all worked out. But I was able to still manage to get that closet in. I wanted to make sure to have one just because that is one of the big kind of features of Get Together. And I actually really love just giving those kind of closets to my Sims. I put some large mirrors there because I was worried about the way I was going to end up making the bathroom work. It's so small, especially because I have the closet going into it. So I put some large mirrors there. It also makes the room look a little bit bigger, and I think it also makes it look brighter too, which is always very helpful. And I ended up going with those lights for most of the interior of the build, with an exception being some small base game lights that I end up putting under the cabinets, which, oh my gosh, figuring out how I wanted to do the cabinets was just, the whole kitchen was really, really a struggle, which we're actually apparently going to be getting into right here. So I did a lot of experimenting with this, and you know, I am happy in the end with how it came out. It's a lot smaller than I envisioned, and I had really at one point really wanted to be able to fit in an island counter, but the space was just a little too narrow. It would have worked, but I mean, at what cost? You know, it would just, I try really hard to make these areas a little bit more open and breathable when I'm doing these tiny builds, because it's already small and I don't want to feel more claustrophobic. Here I ended up just putting some eco roofing, not that one, there we go, some black eco roofing up top, and then I ended up finding eventually the free concrete in the color black there. And this is where I end up turning BB Move objects on, or I'm sorry, the show live edit objects and show hidden objects, so I could access the debug menu, because I knew there were some like hanging greenery and foliage hidden way down here somewhere. I actually do end up finding it here early on, but for some reason my move up and down, you know, where you can use the number 9 and the number 0 to raise or lower objects, really just didn't want to work. So I spent some time just kind of really adjusting that. But before I even found that hanging foliage that I really wanted, I saw some free greenery that I knew I would want for my garden. Yep, see, there's the one. And I swear I was trying so hard to get it to move, and it just wouldn't. It does eventually. Don't even know what I did to make it work, but it is what it is. But I went really hard on just the bushes and the flowers just kind of around the front and side edges here. And foliage can be really expensive in The Sims, so I really do recommend getting the debug menu whenever, you know, you feel like it's appropriate. I don't know. Like, if you're trying to do a rags to riches like I'm doing over on my Twitch channel, you know, it does feel a little bit like cheating. But if you're just doing a little build or just a little family home, you're not really too concerned about making the cost, you know, quote unquote fair. I mean, it's just a really easy option to get some greenery there. So right there is when I realized, oh, my up and down is working. I guess I can just use the plants that I had found before. And so I grab like 3 of them and I kind of adjust them to hang over. I also end up grabbing some flowers, just little tiny flowers to put up there eventually too. But I really do try to fill up this little area right here with a lot of flowers and some grasses and bushes. I really like having the BB Move objects on for the garden because, you know, it really makes it look a lot more alive if things are overlapping really nicely. Oh, I really wish I could have had those plants stay on the side there, but they ended up, because, you know, they're debug objects, they do end up clipping in really badly inside. So in the end, I do end up getting rid of them. Very, very sad. So I'm so sorry that like a huge portion of this is actually me just landscaping. I feel like that's actually a really common problem, but there's just so much to choose from once you get into these debug menus that you could go forever doing this. I'm really actually happy that I kind of made myself stick to just hugging the sides of the house, and then I do end up doing one tree with some bushes around it after. But if I had done more than that for the gardening, oh my gosh, this would be like a 45-minute video. So here's where I'm deciding on what outdoor seating I want to have. I knew that I wanted to have just a little circular table. It was really hard to find one that matched kind of the vibe I was going for, but in the end I did just pick something from Get Together. And right about here is where I realized, oop, I have a wall there instead of a fence, and I fixed that really quick. But I really like having the little window there because you can kind of see into the kitchen, and it's just, I don't know, I find it really cute. Here I'm fixing a little bit of clipping problems. Doing my best. There are still some clipped leaves that I leave in because I do put some indoor plants kind of around there where I feel like it's not such a big deal. And then I also get rid of this TV here and end up putting books because I wanted to have something to fill that space, but the TVs just kind of jut out too much. Plus, I wasn't able to really center it by the bed, and if this were real life, that would have just driven me crazy to not have the TV centered by the bed. So now I'm just adding a couple more little plants here and there to fill up a little bit of the space and bring some of that greenery in. This took me a while to actually get these lined up how I wanted them to. So how I place them initially is not how they end up. You'll see they all kind of like suddenly boop, and they're all together right there. But I really like how that looks. I feel like, especially because there's not a window there, it just kind of really draws in that huge, beautiful garden. So, like I said, this is a really small bathroom, and I struggled with figuring out how I wanted to approach this, because there's a lot of little ways you can kind of really sneaky get everything in, but in the end I was just like, you know, let's just put a little mirror here. It looks like it has storage, and we'll just make sure that we have a sink right outside the door in the kitchen. So up here is that little seating area I told you I really like. I end up going with some more foliage behind the couch. Here you'll see in a second after I get really distracted finding more grasses that I like. But I put a couple of these purpley, I don't know, to me it looks like lavender, and I don't know if that's what it actually is, but I put a couple of those down there. I raise it up so that way it really pokes up and you can see it, but then I have to put a second one down below just so that way it doesn't just look like it's floating. So yeah, right here is where I take these out. Really sad, really liked them. Oh, and the kitchen struggle begins. I actually cut out a lot of the footage of this kitchen struggle because, oh my gosh. I sat here for so long just trying so hard to get a usable, pretty space. And I mean, it was a fight every single step of the way between the counters, the cabinets, making sure you can access the fridge. So this is me giving a valiant effort at first, and then yeah, it doesn't stay that way. And then I turned it dark for a second there so that way I could see if the lighting actually worked. So here's the tail end of me kind of deciding what I wanted to do with this. You can see I kind of extended it along that back wall a little bit more. And then here is where I end up saying, you know, I want to really segregate this space. Let's put a little half wall the same height as the one up on the roof. And I move over the TV. Again, I'm having a centering problem. I really wish I would have thought about that before choosing this particular amount of tiles that this took up. But it's the same height of half wall as is up there. And then I just eyedropper tooled the same trim. So here is where I just add, of course, some more foliage because I can't stop. Once I get started, I just can't stop. And then I add the pool. And then initially I just kind of went crazy with it. I do end up making it one tile shorter than what you see here. Unfortunately, it's after I do some terrain paint, and I wouldn't call it like a lazy job of blending and fixing it, but I definitely don't spend nearly as much time kind of doing these same edits that I do here. And I kind of just really vary the grasses all over this lot. I add a lot of lights and a lot of darks to give it a little bit more life. I also end up adding a little bit of there's a grass that has a little bit of like flowers on it, just a little touch of that later. And then here's where I add a mailbox and do this 100 times because I'm never sure how I want to do the paths. And then adding a little bit of dirt under all that beautiful foliage. It's like one of those little touches that I end up falling in love with because it really does bring just a touch of realism to these builds. And then here roughly is where I'm gonna end up seeing like, oh, there's a really big spot right here. I'm just gonna add a tree. And so I drop some dirt down, I find a tree that I like. It ends up being a tree that I use in so many builds. And then find a couple of bushes and then just kind of adjust it to make sure it's in the spot that I like. So like I said, I do make it so that way this is one tile shorter on each side and then just kind of fix it right there. Again, I didn't really go in nearly as much. Oh, and here's where I add trash cans because I realized, oh, I don't have a trash can in the kitchen and I should probably have one out here too because I'm always forgetting the trash cans. And then over here I add a couple lounge chairs so you can get some sun, and then some more chairs there, and then we're just about done with this. So you can see I popped a sim in and had him testing everything. I really do end up liking the way this kind of turned out here. I tested and made sure, yes, he can get up there just fine. Here's a little view of him sunbathing, and then, like I said, I tested to make sure that you can get into the closet. The TV is accessible there, and you can also access the bed. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day and enjoy building yourself.